All right, so are you ready to dive into this whole Lunchly thing? I know. You want to know if it's actually like the healthy Lunchables it claims to be.
Yeah.
Especially with those big names behind it, right?
Yeah. KSI, MrBeast, Logan Paul. You don't get much bigger than that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're marketing it as this healthy alternative, so of course everyone's freaking out.
Yeah.
Which is why we're doing a deep dive with Dr. Mike. He broke it all down, the good, the bad. And let me tell you, it gets kind of wild.
Oh, yeah. He does not hold back.
No, he doesn't. But before we get to the Lunchly drama, we got to talk about the OG problem. Lunchables. Dr. Mike doesn't sugarcoat it. Those things are loaded with stuff that's not great for you. Sodium, saturated fat, sugar.
The trifecta, seriously. But what's even worse is that whole ultra-processed food category, UPFs, as he calls them. And it's not just Lunchables. It's like so much of the stuff marketed to kids.
Right. And this is something Dr. Mike sees firsthand in his practice, like real consequences for kids' health, especially when it comes to childhood obesity.
Which is terrifying, honestly. Like you said, it's not just theoretical. It's real kids' lives being impacted by this stuff.
And the research backs it up. There are studies showing that kids who eat a lot of ultra-processed foods have a much higher risk of obesity, sometimes up to 50% higher.
Wow, 50%, that's huge.
Yeah, and some studies even suggest a link between UPFs and a higher risk of cancer, which is, even scarier. Absolutely. And the thing is, these aren't like hidden dangers.
Yeah.
It's not a mystery what's in these foods. It's all right there on the label.
Yeah.
But they're still being marketed directly to kids. Consumer Reports actually called out a bunch of these products, and it's kind of shocking.
Yeah, it's like they're preying on parents who are just trying to make things easier, Like, oh, it's a quick lunch, it must be fine. But then you look at the ingredients and it's like, whoa.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole Lunchly thing so interesting, right? Because they're coming in saying they're the healthy Lunchables, but are they really? That's what we're here to figure out. Because honestly, some of their marketing tactics are kind of suspect.
Like what? What did you find cringy?
Oh, I don't know. That whole flavorful combos versus standard picks, big gestures versus mid-moments thing. It just feels very calculated,
Right. Like they're trying to distract us from the real issue, which is the nutritional content.
Yes. Like with the whole electrolytes thing. Okay, electrolytes are important. I get it. But they make it seem like that's the only thing that matters. What about the sodium content in the context of a child's overall diet?
Exactly. They're cherry-picking data to make themselves look good.
Exactly. And speaking of cherry-picking, Dr. Mike did a side-by-side comparison of Lunchly and Lunchables, just like straight-up nutrition facts, and even that was kind of a mixed bag.
Oh, really? How so?
So there are some wins for Lunchly. Like the sugar content is lower, which is always good, and they have slightly less sodium and saturated fat than Lunchables.
Okay, so far so good.
Well, here's where the critical thinking comes in. Because, yeah, those reductions are good, but it's still ultra-processed food.
Right.
Right? Like you're swapping regular soda for diet soda.
Sure, less sugar, but still not exactly healthy.
Exactly. And get this, Dr. Mike pointed out that some of the improvements might actually be kind of bad.
Wait, what? How can an improvement be bad?
So they have a lot of vitamin A in Lunchly, which too much vitamin A, especially for kids, can actually be a problem.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it can lead to all sorts of issues, especially if they're getting too much from other sources. And it's fat soluble, so your body kind of holds on to it.
So it's like they're fixing one thing, but potentially creating another problem.
Right. It's a whole thing. And this has actually been a concern with their prime drink in general.
Which they include in the Lunchly package.
Yep. So, yeah, mixed bag so far. But where things get really interesting and kind of concerning is when you compare Lunchly to the USDA standards for school lunches. Buckle up. Okay, so the USDA, they have these guidelines, right, for school lunches. And one of them is about saturated fat. They say less than 10% of a kid's daily calories should come from saturated fat.
Makes sense.
Right. Seems reasonable. So how much do you think is in a serving of Lunchly turkey?
Knowing the USDA and knowing these guys, it's got to be bad, right? Like 15%.
18%.
Try 23.
No way. Are you serious?
Dead serious. 23% of your kids' daily recommended saturated fat in one little Lunchly.
That's insane. It's like they're not even trying.
Well, that's the thing. It's like they looked at the USDA guidelines and said, hold my juice box.
Oh, don't even get me started on the juice boxes.
Yeah.
Full of sugar. Exactly. It's like a whole other deep dive, honestly. But anyway, back to the USDA guidelines. There's another one for added sugars, also less than 10% of daily calories.
Okay, so how does Lunchly do on that one?
They actually squeak by on that one. Barely. Like 10.4%. So, okay, fine. But then the calorie count. Remember those USDA guidelines are supposed to make sure kids are actually getting enough to eat?
Yeah, they have those recommendations based on age groups and activity levels, right?
Exactly. For most kids, we're talking around 625 calories for lunch.
Okay, and Lunchly has?
230.
Wait, 230 calories, that's it.
That's it. So basically, your kid would need to eat 3 of those things to hit the recommended calorie intake.
Which would also mean 3 times the sodium.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner. It's almost 1,300 milligrams of sodium if they eat 3. The USDA recommends way less than that. It's like, pick your poison, starve your kid, or overload them with sodium.
Ugh, it's so frustrating. It's like they designed this whole thing without even considering what a growing child actually needs.
Right. And speaking of things they're missing, let's talk about whole grains.
Oh, here we go. Another fail.
You know it. The USDA recommends at least 80% of the grains in a school lunch be whole grains.
And how much does the Lunchly have? Let me guess. 0.
0. Not even a little sprinkle of whole wheat. It's honestly impressive how they managed to miss the mark on so many of these guidelines.
Wait, what were they even thinking?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? If they were serious about being a healthy alternative, wouldn't they at least try to meet those standards? The USDA puts those out for a reason. It's based on research, science, years of studying what kids actually need.
Yeah, it makes you wonder about their priorities. Like, are they actually invested in creating a healthy product? Or is this just about building a brand?
Because, let's be real, that brand is aimed directly at kids.
Who are very impressionable, by the way. They see these famous YouTubers, they love promoting this product, and of course they want it.
Exactly. And that's what Dr. Mike was saying, you know?
Yeah.
It's great that they're building business and everything, but when you're marketing a food product to kids, especially one that you're calling healthy, there's a responsibility there. You have to be truthful, transparent, and actually back up your claims.
100%. It's about more than just making a quick buck. It's about these kids' health.
And that's where Dr. Mike's suggestion really got me thinking, you know? He was like, if they really want to be taken seriously about this whole healthy thing, they need to bring in an actual health professional.
Like, actually consult with a nutritionist.
Exactly. It seems so obvious when you say it like that. Like, you're creating a food product. For kids, you'd think having a nutritionist on board would be step 1.
Right. They could help them actually develop a truly healthy product.
Yeah.
And, make sure the marketing is legit.
Yes. Because it's not just about, like, checking boxes on a nutrition label. It's about actually promoting healthy eating habits from a young age, setting these kids up to make good choices for life.
Totally. And I think this whole thing just really highlights the influence these online personalities have, especially when it comes to health and wellness.
Oh, absolutely. They have a huge GE platform, and their fans, especially the younger ones, they see them as role models. So when they say, hey, this product is awesome, it's healthy, it's easy to just take their word for it.
Yeah, and that's where we as consumers have to be really careful. Like, we have to remember that influencers, at the end of the day, they're in the business of influencing, Their endorsements are often driven by, well, money, not necessarily what's best for our health.
Sadly, that's so true.
It is.
So it all comes back to critical thinking, doesn't it? We can't just blindly trust celebrities or influencers, no matter how much we might like them. We have to take responsibility for our own health, do our research, ask questions, and make informed choices.
Absolutely. And, I think what Dr. Mike does so well is he doesn't just tell us what's in these foods. He shows us the potential consequences, He reminds us that our health is actually at stake here.
Right. This isn't just some abstract concept. It has real-world implications.
Exactly.
And that's what I think makes these deep dives so important, because it's not about, like, let's tear down this celebrity-backed product.
Yeah.
It's about giving you, the listener, the knowledge to make the best decisions for you and your family.
100%. Knowledge is power, right?
Right. So we've laid out the facts, the context, and hopefully sparked some healthy skepticism. Now it's up to you. What do you think? Do you think Lunchly's attempts at being healthier are good enough?
Would you pack it in your kid's lunchbox? Or are you, like me, thinking maybe a good old-fashioned PB&J is still the way to go? Right. Sometimes the classics are classics for a reason.
Exactly. But whatever you decide, just keep asking questions, read those labels, and never stop learning. And on that note, we are wrapping up this deep dive. A huge thank you, as always, to Dr. Mike for his amazing breakdown of the Lunchly situation. And an even bigger thank you to you, our incredible listeners, for joining us on this journey. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay healthy.
See you next time.